Hello, 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 it is me, Howard H. Smith, and this is another episode of Talking Bollocks. Welcome back if you are coming back and you are a regular bollocker, and welcome for the first time if this is indeed your first time, no matter how you found me, whether it's through the Sepultura, Sepulquata specials, or whether it was through the Motorcast, or just good old-fashioned wandering through podcasts looking for some mouthy twat who talks about metal. Well, you found the right twat. Hello, welcome. My name is Howard H. Smith. I am lead singer in the UK thrash band Acid Rain. I also perform stand-up comedy. It's Keith Platt, keithplatt.co.uk. Does anybody go to websites anymore? And all the usual social media for this podcast as well, at Talking Bollocks on just about every platform you can imagine, including Instagram. Instagram's been up a couple of months now, so if you'd like to start following there, please do. It's at Talking Bollocks, but with a Z on the end instead of an S. Fucking typical. Listen to this. Right, okay, you just missed it there. Here it is. Oh, how fucking annoying is this? Right, there's some bastard with a circular saw outside of the block of flats where I live. And he's sort of like in the, I was going to say foyer, courtyard for want of a better description, but courtyard makes it sound like I live in a castle. So anyway, just past the drawbridge and before the portcullis, there's a twat with a circular saw, not made a sound all day, and the 1 minute and 30 seconds into recording a podcast, you fucking bastard. Anyway, look, if this is your first time, you're thinking, what the fuck? And regular listeners are thinking, yep, this is, as usual, Howard has disappeared on a tangent before the podcast has really actually started. Well, let's get cracking on with what's been happening in the world of metal. Since we last spoke, Ted Nugent has continued to be a massive cunt. What a surprise! There you go. First C word, and that's right, I meant cunt, not corona or COVID. Yeah, just what a twat. No matter what you think about his politics and is there anybody who now sees the headline of the Nuge's latest brain fade and thought, oh, I'll read more of that. Oh yeah, I'll click that link. That sounds interesting. No, it's just a man falling apart in front of the world, living on his little fucking farm or homestead or whatever the fuck it is, ranch, I don't know. He's just completely and utterly lost it. The guy is out there. And the thing is, well, it's just, anyway, I've led with him as the first topic. What an idiot. Don't go and look for Ted Nugent stuff. Don't, please. He's a fucking knobhead. There you go. I've done my research, haven't I? There you go. I've got all my ducks in a row. Next up, we have got System of a Down have released new music for the right reasons. All money going to charity, due to hideous acts currently being committed upon the Armenian people and Armenian communities. So fair play to them for getting their act together. But I've got to be honest. I'll be completely honest, I haven't listened to the songs, and I'm not going to listen to the songs because there's, no album in the works. It's just 2 songs. It's just a reminder of what they're capable of, and I don't want a reminder. I want to hear what they're capable of. I've mentioned a few times before, to me, as a band, they're pretty much, they're dead to me as a band is the phrase I'm looking for right now, until they start working on a new album. I mean, yeah, 2 songs in over 10 years, I don't know, still more than Tool managed, isn't it? But you always knew they were working on an album. Yeah, it's just doing my head in. So no, not happening. And it must have been a slow news day. I don't know what I'm saying, right? It must have been a slow news day. I don't know why. I think I wanted to say a snow lose day. Okay, slow news day or snow lose day. Slow news day. Mick Jagger is on Blabbermouth. Yeah, that's right. He of that awesome thrash. No. Metal? No. Rock? Not really. Pop? Bluesy, poppy, middle-of-the-roady bandy, who, yes, they were cutting edge when they came out, but it's middle-of-the-road stuff now, folks. Yeah, apparently Blabbermouth has started reporting on what Mick Jagger thinks. I nearly said Chick Jagger. What the fuck is going on? Honestly, I've been fine all day. Minute I picked up the mic, just turned into a gibbering twat. Don't know what the hell has gone on here. Anyway, in more news, Slipknot working on new music. According to Clown, for that is how he will always be known. They are starting to work on a new music. And funnily enough, seeing a picture of Slipknot doing, well, 3 of them doing a press conference in masks, and I just thought, well, yeah, you know, that who would have thought all those years ago when I was picking up the first Slipknot album that there would come a time where actually wearing their masks in public would seem fairly sensible. and yeah, so there you go, new Slipknot is in the works. Be a while before we hear any of that, but I tell you what you can hear, only out for a few days, Killer Be Killed, new album, Reluctant Hero. I've only managed to listen to it once so far, so that's, you know, no, that's not even, I can't even give you early impressions. Listening to it once, it's like, right, okay, so that's the album, now you've got to go and listen to it again. So, you know, further thoughts to come, if you care, or not, either way, further thoughts to come on that in future episodes. Next up, Creator are the latest metal band to make some coffee. That's right. Creator are making coffee. So, what's it called? Is it Creator? Is it a riot of violence in a cup? No, not at all. Is it brewing? Is it going to turn out to be a terrible certainty? Hey, no, it's not. Is it going to be extremely aggressive? Apparently not. It is Black Sunrise. So, there you go. In case you're wondering what a Creator coffee would ever be called if they made one, it is Black Sunrise. So there you go. Not Coffee of Souls. They could have gone for that. I am going to get completely lost on a load of creator puns now, aren't I? No, can't think of any, to be honest. But there you go. So, yeah, Creator got a new coffee out. That's all there is there, really. You see, the weird thing is, right, that because I'm a comedian, yes, once upon a time I was a comedian when there was this thing called stand-up comedy you could do, but half of my brain is detached from talking to you and is desperately trying to think of Creator coffee puns. Now, the thing is, A, I could have worked on those and had them ready. B, I don't ever know what I'm going to blurt out. So that's kind of like the downside of that. So if I did sound like I was kind of zoning out, that is why. That's what's going on in my head at the moment. But please bear with me, okay? I'm locked up just like the rest of you at the moment, and fucking hell. I mean, I dropped a WhatsApp message into a group I'm part of with my old football team, and there's like 10 or 11 people in there, and I dropped a joke. Somebody had put in there, and somebody put something in there, and I responded with a joke, and it went down really well, and everybody was like, you know, sending laughing emojis and, like, you know, applause emojis and stuff like that, and the relevant gifs, etc. And it was Saturday night, and I turned to my mate and I said, look, there you go, Saturday night, I've put one joke in a WhatsApp group. Everyone likes it. That is the closest I'm getting to do a gig right now. That's where I've got to try and get my comedy rocks off, in a WhatsApp group with like a few people in it. That's it. That is the equivalent of a comedy gig right now, for me at least. So yeah, you know, please do bear with me whilst I literally fall apart in front of your ears after all of this fucking lockdown and bullshit that's been going on. But, you know, hey, such is life. So, from one interesting way of making money as a band, which is making coffee, to another that's got nothing to do with music. That's right, Pantera are releasing a far beyond driven 3D vinyl kind of model. It's in production at the moment, Needless to say, it's officially licensed. The album was released in 1994, so there are only 1,994 being made. Each is handcrafted. And yeah, it's made in resin, and it's 7.5 pounds heavy, and yeah, that's it. So if when you got Pantera Far Beyond Driven and you saw that blue skull with a drill bit being drilled through the middle of the skull, and Pantera Far Beyond Driven, if you ever thought, now there is an interesting sculpture I would like on my mantelpiece, well, now is your time, because Pantera, well, whoever runs Pantera these days has thought, I know what we can do, I know what this world is missing, I know what we've never done, let's put out a full-on, proper, recreated model of the Far Beyond Driven album cover. It literally is the answer to a question nobody ever asked. But hey, such is life. I guess it keeps the Pantera name going and keeps it out there. In other news, smashing back to music, Sodom, new album, Genesis XIX. You know what I'm like with Roman numerals. I just say them like that because I never know what they represent. I haven't had a chance to listen to it. We'll be listening to that as soon as, and coming back and letting you know what I think. And this is almost like the exact opposite of that story. Just a nod to one of my all-time favourite albums, and probably the album along with Day at the Races that is responsible for getting me into music full stop, and that is Queen's Greatest Hits, the very first one, which has just landed on the Billboard Top 10 in the USA for the first time. For the first time since it was released in 1981, after a jaw-dropping 412 weeks on the chart, Queen's landmark Greatest Hits compilation has hit the top 10 of the Billboard 200, rocketing from 36 to number 8. Its previous peak was number 11, which it hit in 1992. The 9 times platinum-selling career-spanning collection has also hit number 1 on Billboard's vinyl album chart, the second largest sales week of 2020 for any vinyl release. There is Queen, still kicking everybody's fucking ass. For those of you that don't know this, interesting fact about Queen's Greatest Hits is it is the biggest selling album in the UK. It's the biggest selling album that's ever been in the UK, to the extent that there is enough copies sold for 1 in 5 households has a copy of Queen's Greatest Hits. How fucking insane is that? Speaking of insane and old bands and going to number 1 and things like that, obviously I now stray beautifully, as if it was almost figured out like this. It wasn't. AC/DC's Power Up lands at number 1 on the Billboard chart. That's right. They are back with doing what they do best. It's an AC/DC album with Power Up. So who would have thought it? Who would have thought it when it was all kicking off and Axl was having to sing in the band and everybody was saying, oh, that's disrespectful. And, let's face it, the lineup was not looking good. I mean, Phil Rudd, I know I've mentioned it before, but I've got to touch on it again. Boy, has that guy got his life together. He was like on meth and high and arrested for trying to procure a hit person, and then it all goes quiet. Next thing you see, he's playing drums on the new album. You're fucking kidding me. I haven't got around to hearing it yet. I do apologise. I'm sure I will do. I've got no excuse. I mean, fucking hell, lockdown, all this. I mean, I really do have no excuse. I do apologise. I'll get on the case. Sorry. So, what a way to see in one of the shittest years ever. There's a band who are offering tickets for a Lockdown Live streaming show on December the 18th from London. And they are doing it as a way of seeing off this horrible, vile year. And who else would you want to spend the time with in your front room to see off 2020 than the darkness? That's right, pretty much anyone else. Pretty much any other band. I mean, I admire the, I admire the thought, but no, really, no. To me, that just sums up 2020 perfectly. Yeah, and the band who are going to be seeing it out, the last live streaming show from London of the year, is The Darkness. That sums up fucking 2020 to an absolute T for me. It really fucking does. That just puts the tin hat... Does anybody know what that phrase means? That's put the tin hat on it. I mean, I don't want to come across like a completely old bastard, but the phrase, putting the tin hat on it, for those of you who may be not aware of that phrase, it is a phrase, I promise. I'm not just ranting utter gibberish here. I'm not chatting shit, bruv. Right? It's basically, when something's gone wrong and then something else goes wrong on top of that, it's like, oh, well, that's put the tin hat on it. What does that fucking mean? Is it war? Is it to do with the war when you had to wear like a tin hat, like a helmet? And why would that be bad? Surely you'd be putting the helmet on to protect yourself from bullets and stabbings and falling rubble and Hitler and things like that. Yeah. So why would be putting the tin hat on it? It would surely be a good thing. If you're putting a tin hat on, you're saving yourself, you're protecting yourself. Or is it because if you needed to put the tin hat on, that meant that there was going to be a bombing? So that's bad news. So it's like, oh yeah, that's put the tin hat on it. I've got to put the tin hat on. Bad news. Shit's coming. I don't know. Okay, I haven't got the answers. Yes, I am falling apart in your very ears. I'm just bloody interested. If anybody out there can enlighten me, I would really appreciate it. So, I guess we should probably get on with an interview. Well, I say we, and of course, I mean me. So, 2 interviews in this podcast because I like you. I like where you're coming from. I like the cut of your jib. I like the attitude you've displayed so far. I think you've done good stuff, good work. And you deserve 2 interviews, not just the one. Okay? So, let's go for it. First up is drummer from Kill the Lights. That's right, it is Moose. Now, Moose was formerly in A Bullet for My Valentine, as I'm sure many of you are aware. He is also from Bridgend, as is Cookie, our guitarist, and I bumped into members of Bullet a few times, but never met Moose. So now was a chance to have a little bit of a chat, relieve both our boredom, and find out where he's at, and find out a little bit about the Kill the Lights album. So, this was us catching up a couple of weeks ago. Hello there.
What's happening? Sorry about it. I hit the fucking wrong button, man.
It wasn't your fault. It was totally me. I accidentally hung up. You didn't.
Oh, all right, okay. It's your fault then.
Yeah, absolutely my fault, mate.
Cool.
Well, that's a nice start. So, we've got quite a few friends in common, haven't we?
We do indeed, yes. I've never actually crossed your path either, I don't think.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those weird ones, isn't it? Where it's like I feel like we've like known each other for years and been to loads of places and done loads of gigs together, but we've never met.
Yeah, it's weird. It's always through someone else, I guess.
Yeah, I know. It's totally bizarre. It really is. I know your neck of the woods really well, and obviously, I mean, you and Cookie have known each other for years, haven't you?
Yeah, I've known Cookie since I was 13.
Bloody hell!
I know. I'm 39 now. That's a little while.
Yeah, that's a little while, isn't it?
Yeah,
ever so slightly. So how are you coping with? I mean, the first question's always got to be, how are you coping with the way things are at the moment? Because obviously, you guys are going into new levels of lockdown, aren't you?
Yeah, I was gutted really. This new band and all that. We released an album.
Yeah.
And then ready to go, shows booked, and then back in this. I mean, we're all in this. All us musicians are in the same fucking boat, really. I mean, what can we do but wait, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're in a very similar situation to yourself, you know. Well, apart from it took us 29 years to get the fucking new album together. Yeah, and then bingo, this happens, and it just like takes your feet away, doesn't it? It's horrible.
Yes, it's so frustrating. It's just like, oh, fuck, come on. But I think out of this, like, negative thing, like, hopefully if this goes away next year, I think the metal world should be expecting two things. I think good fucking albums, because there's no excuses to have a rushed, boring album, and lots of tours, I think.
Yeah, I think as well. I think there's going to be a lot of people. Well, it was starting to happen anyway, but I think we're going to get tours with headliners all combining. Do you know what I mean?
Awesome.
Yeah. But, well, the thing is, if you've got, we've all not been on tour, then we all want to go on tour. What's the point in fighting each other? Do you know what I mean? In different towns, like, what's the point in like, you know, us playing in Cardiff, and then in Bridgend you've got Zentrix doing a gig. Do you know what I mean? It's except,
yeah, exactly.
Let's get the bigger, let's get bands on bills together and pack places out.
Exactly, a big fucking celebration when this annoying fucking thing fucks off.
Yeah, I know, because well, you've got dates booked for March, haven't you?
Yes, so far. So,
Yeah, I know.
They've definitely been penciled in for June as well, just in case.
Yeah, it's got to be done. Well, look, on the subject of dates, I thought Hobos had packed up being a music venue.
I think it did for a little bit, because they swapped like owners or like management or something like that. But the guy who runs it now, he loves music and loves metal and stuff, so he wants to put it back as a live venue, which is a good thing. Oh yeah,
that's a brilliant little venue.
Yeah, so I never played there before, so with Killer Lights now will be my first time playing, which I'm really looking forward to playing, actually. Oh,
it'll be an absolute pit. It really will. In fact, the whole venue will be a pit. it's that. Yeah. It's that, you're just so rammed in there. I mean, we've played there, I think 2 or 3 times, and it's been brilliant. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I love Hobos. I always go there if there's like a band. I think I've seen you. Have I seen you? No, I haven't. I've never seen you. That's weird, that is.
It is weird, but we've got to face facts.
I know.
But funnily enough, whilst we were recording our album, I know Jace was pinging bits and pieces across to Colin to get like his feedback on some of the sounds he was getting and stuff like that. And Colin was working on your album at the time, because we were both in the studio at the same time. Although I think you were in the studio a lot longer than we were.
Well, I think it was about 2 years and a bit. So it's been a fucking long time. So I just want to tour now. Do you know what I mean? But it's good though that we were both in the studio at the same time, and obviously Jace was talking to Colin.
Yeah.
I was in England and you were in Wales, which is the opposite.
And how was the recording? What was it? Because I know you were hard at it for quite some time with Colin.
Yeah, no, it's always good with Colin. He always pushes you and is like, you think it's good, and Colin's like, I think you can do better, and it's like, sleeve driver, but it's what makes the song better, I guess. So yeah, it was just really nice to actually go in the studio in a relaxed environment with no label, like no management. It was just me, Colin, and Chris Clancy. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's and that way you can really kind of just sort of relax, can't you, and just concentrate on delivering the best.
Yeah, exactly. There was no pressure. It was like, what do you want to do tonight then after tracking? I was like, some fucking cans of Guinness, I think. Why not?
Yeah. And so you got, I mean, were you working with Colin right from the outset? Because presumably you were putting the band together and putting songs together for quite some time before you got in the studio.
Yeah, Jordan was in place, I was in place, and James, the vocalist, was in place. So we were lacking a bass player and a lead guitarist. So while we were tracking the drums, Clancy, the co-producer, and the engineer, who's now our bass player, mentioned that we should give Travis a ring, so we did, and he sent us like 4 slamming solos, which blew our minds really. And he was like, "Okay, do you want to fly over to Blackpool?" And he was like, "Yeah, Blackpool." And I was like, "Don't get your hopes up, mine's Blackpool."
Yeah.
He was like, "Man, I was thinking I'd be flying into England, seeing thatched cottages." I was like, "No, it's Blackpool."
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. Hey, how is Blackpool these days? Because it's a while since I've been, and last time I went, it was a shithole.
Nothing's changed, I guess. I haven't been since I was about... My parents took me on holidays when I was about 9, and I was like, I think it's exactly the same as that. But me and Jordan sat down for a beer before we started on the day we got there, so the studios booked the next day, so we sat down, went to a pub, and they're just fucking hair glued to the table, and it's fucking disgusting.
Oh, fucking hell. That is rough. That is rough.
Cheap drinks, though.
Yeah, you'd expect it, wouldn't you? Fucking hell.
Yeah.
So when you were working on these songs, who was working on these songs with you initially when you started putting them together?
Just me and Jordan.
Yeah.
'Cause obviously, I can play like chords on a guitar, but I can't play guitar as well as other people can play guitar. So I can't really write songs the way I want to drum to, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I just text Jordan. I was like, 'cause I knew he was like a riff lord. So I was just like, send me some stuff. He sends me like 30 songs. So I'm like, cool, that's in place. So me and Jordan were doing all the music, and then we needed obviously a vocalist. And we went around the world with vocalists. We had 2 Russian guys try out, and you should never be fooled.
So never be fooled by demos is a golden rule now, is it?
Yeah, never be fooled by demos and YouTube videos, because they looked awesome and sounded awesome, and they had like hundreds of thousands of followers on their social media accounts and stuff. We sent them a demo. We're like, cool. We're waiting fucking weeks past. We're like, where's this demo? He's like, oh, okay. And then they send these demos back, and it's just like, fuck, that's real bad. That's like bad.
Shit.
Like, it's just fake. And I don't know how many people, like, they just get away with it. And it's really fucking weird. So then I put on my Facebook, I had a guitar line, and I was just like, anyone could sing, really good with melodies and lyrics and stuff. And James then, because I know James's band toured with us when I was in Bullet in 2013. He was like, I'll give her a go. I was like, oh, okay, here you go. 2 days later, I was like, fuck, this is awesome. So, so just goes to show, really, you should just, I don't know, put on Facebook first.
Well, yeah, but also use the contacts you've got, because like you said, you thought, right, let's like scour the world for a singer, and it turns out it was somebody you already knew.
Yeah, it's fucking mental. And I was like, will he work for this project? Because he was like in a more of a rock-based band rather than a metal band. And I was like, oh, give everyone a chance. And thank fuck we did,
Yeah, it is the hardest job. It says the singer. I would say that, wouldn't I? But
yeah.
But it is. But it's also. But it can make or break you, can't it? I mean, the amount of bands that you can list where it's like, yeah, but I don't like the singer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the music is great underneath. Everyone's like working hard on the music, and then if the vocals don't fit on top, it's just a waste of time, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And did Chris produce the vocals? Because I know he's a pretty damn good singer himself. Oh yeah,
I mean, Jordan sent Chris the songs before I was involved. So there's a vocal track with Chris doing the Faceless, but before it was a Faceless or first single, which was really good. But for some reason, Chris got into production and stuff. Yes, so when James was singing, he was definitely making him hurt, should we say? Yeah, because he's an awesome vocalist, it's Chris. So yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though, isn't it? And I think what you were saying earlier about Colin saying, like, come on, you can do better, and I know when I'm in the studio, I want like someone to push me, because sometimes you can do a take and you just think that feels right, that feels good, that feels right on, and then someone else turns around and goes, but you can do better than that, and you think, yeah, really? Can I? Because that felt pretty fucking good. And then, you put that bit of extra effort in, and you think, fucking hell, wow, yeah. I could do better, and I have done, and that sounds great, but I need that person to push me.
Yeah, and me, because there's nothing worse than going, okay, it's all right. Then it plays on your fucking mind, and you're like, I knew I could have done better. And you're like, okay, you got to do it again. Because I can't settle for anything less than, 100%, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and also I think it's always handy as well when you've got people in the studio who know the instruments, and you can't beat having a producer who knows how to play instruments, rather, because otherwise sometimes you're getting suggestions. I know I've spoken to drummers before, and there's nothing worse than getting suggestions from a producer about changing a drummer pattern or a drum pattern or something like that, and they explain their idea, and you're thinking, yeah, you've never played the drums, you can't fucking do that.
Yeah, it's weird. It's interesting you say that, because on the live side of things, when I was touring America with Bullet, all of my drum techs couldn't play drums. How weird is that?
That's bizarre.
I was like, they were like, check the kit, and they would just hit in each kit. I was like, you can't play drums. And then all the British guys, who was my techs, could play. I was just like, this is fucking so weird. It was fucking strange. I've met guitar techs who can't play guitar as well.
Yeah, I mean that is weird. I mean, because the thing is, it's like I stupidly thought half the point of having a drum tech who can play the drums means that never sound check again, basically.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the way it went over there. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of weird, isn't it? But look, it's taken it took you a few years to put the project together, and yes, there's this huge fucking bump in the road with the virus and everything, but it still must feel good to be back out in the world of metal and have that album out there.
Yeah, I mean, we knew when we were recording there and we was finishing stuff, we knew what we thought was really good, but now it's out and people are really enjoying it. It's kind of like a massive relief that people are liking it, and we're like, so we're not full of shit. We do know what we're on about.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. So it's just, it is really nice to be back, and as soon as this thing goes away, I'll be out. Boys,
exactly, because I know what you mean though, because you'll play a few tracks, or like let people in the inner circle hear a bit, and they react positively, and even people who are going to be honest with you and tell you that it was shit if they thought that's what they thought, and they think it's great, and you think, yeah, brilliant, but in the back of your mind there's still that, yeah, but you're not the public.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, are you just being nice to me because you know me?
Yeah, I get the opposite. Yeah. People are horrible to me because they know me, but that's understandable. But yeah, I mean, you've already answered the question, but you sound pretty happy with the response and everything else. Yeah,
it's just like we couldn't be happier. I mean, I had 1,650,000 views in the first streams on Spotify the first week.
Wow!
So we were like, what the fuck? We were like, we would have been happy with 10,000. You know what I mean?
That's insane.
But yeah. So and that was just on Spotify. We were like, boys, man, it's fucking mad.
I tell you what, that's great. That's nearly what? That's about £19, isn't it?
I worked it out. It was about $4,000 split 6 ways.
Brilliant. Yeah, great. Worse, you get better rates stacking shelves in Tesco's.
I know. I go straight to the record company. Mind, wait, see ya.
yeah. Not even in one hand out the other. Just like, forget it. You're not seeing it.
Yeah, off you go.
But I mean, obviously you've got the Bullet connection, but you are still, starting a band from scratch, and to have that kind of that response, that must have, it clearly blew you away.
Yeah, I was fucking blown. I was like texting the boys. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, this is awesome. And like, obviously, with these shows now that I got coming up with Killer Lights, I really want to start from the ground up with Killer Lights, because it was great with Bullet, it kind of just exploded and just kind of went quite big, quite fast. But with this one, I really want to do as many small shows as I can, and just pack them out. Because all the small shows of Bullet, they're the ones I enjoyed most. So I'm trying to do this to the correct way with this. If I'm seen that correctly, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's like that's, you know, the bigger shows are further down the line, and they're there and they'll come, but you want to do that. Yeah, you want to. Well, you kind of, if you like, paying your dues again, aren't you? Rather than sort of going in at a higher level, you go. I mean, I've seen the sort of size venues you're playing, and yeah, absolutely right. I think, you know, look to those venues and think, yeah, 10-date UK tour. There's no reason why you can't sell it out.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, what's the smallest show we can do? And there's one on I think it's the first show of the tour, with 100 cap. And that one, I'm looking forward to the most.
Brilliant. Well, Hobos isn't far off that. I think Hobos is 150 maximum.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome. And then we obviously play Download then in summer. So I'm looking forward to the small shows more than Download, which is weird. I don't know.
Well, I guess stuff like Download and the bigger shows, they're more recent in your memory, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's nice to play all the big festivals and stuff, but when you do your own shows, they're there to, you know, listen to the music that they like of you, isn't it? So,
and especially doing, I mean, you know, it's got to be, God knows how long since you were playing those smaller shows with Bullet. So it's nice to have the two worlds, isn't it? Do small venues tour and then, you know, Download at the end of it. Yeah,
I mean, I'm not complaining. I'll take anything. I'll play to 5 people right now.
Oh, mate, I know what you mean. I'd set up a festival in my own garage at the moment. But and from a live point of view, is it all going to be live, or are you going to be triggering some harmonies, or is it just going to be down and dirty?
It'll be down and dirty. The only thing I will, well, not cheap, but I play to a metronome, that's it, because if I don't, it's going to be 1,000 miles an hour.
Yeah. Oh, mate, yeah. Many's a time I've wished I had a drummer who'd play to a metronome.
Yeah, so that's the only thing. Obviously now with Clancy in the band, I mean, there's no need to have vocals on track or anything, because there's 2 great singers there in the band, so just use them. Yeah.
That's awesome, man, because that, you know, there's being able to recreate that album with, you know, just the band and not supplementing it, you know, with a load of Pro Tools that's awesome.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm looking forward to that. We haven't even rehearsed together yet.
Fucking hell, really? Well, I tell you what, that 10-date tour's going to be fun, isn't it?
I know. I'm like, boys, you might want to come over a couple of months early.
Yeah. We might, mind you, you know, you might have split up by the time the tour. If they do, you might have split up by the time the tour starts.
Yeah, the greatest tour that never happened.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, there's nothing that nothing establishes a who's going to last in the band quicker than a tour, does it?
Oh, I know. It was a very Spinal Tap if that happened, wouldn't it?
Yeah, ever so slightly. Yeah. And I guess this is pretty much the opposite of what you did with Bullet, because Bullet was all like, you know, coming up with friends and you know, growing up, people that you'd grown up with, whereas this is a completely different venture. You're a music, you know, you're a music business veteran now.
I know, I'm getting old now. I've been, well, when we do Bullet, so we got signed 2003, so it's coming up 20 years. Jesus Christ.
Bloody hell! So you were in the band for what, 14 years?
If you, I was there. Yeah. So it was when we got signed. It was 2003, and then we were doing stuff before that. So I got jamming with Matt in about 96, 97. That's when it all started. Yeah. I think I left school and just started drumming with Matt.
And is there any sort of contact or relationships left there, or is it done for now? Yeah. No, they can do their thing. I'm going to do my thing, and I think that's the best way to be. Mate, give it 10 years, and you know, if you'll both be doing a tour together.
Yeah, well, I'm sure if everyone's money starts dwindling, they'd be like, let's do a reunion tour.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. I guess that's to be expected though when you work so closely with people. When it finally, you know, when it goes wrong, invariably it always goes wrong to the extent whereby, we've had enough of each other. Yeah,
I mean, I'm just happy I'm still in the metal world. You know what I mean? So they can do whatever they want to do, which is cool. I'm just happy I'm still here doing my thing.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty amazing as well because you know, absolutely no disrespect intended, but it's not that often that you hear of a drummer leaving a band and actually, you know, going on to create something, frankly, that's not shit.
I know, and I did think about this the other day, and I was like, fuck, you know, I'm pretty fucking lucky. Yeah, I think, you know, I should keep this really quite proud of myself because not many people actually, especially backline people, do it and, you know, get a good reaction from it.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, mate, I think I'm a firm believer in you make your own luck.
Well, yeah, I mean, I could have easily just got a job in a factory or something, you know, but I was like, no, I work too hard, I love metal too much. I thought I'm going to fucking give it one more go. So I did. And you know, it's well, up to now it's worthwhile, and then you're going to get on the road and all the rest of it. I mean, presumably you want to world tour this thing, not just the UK. Yeah, I mean the offers are coming in now, like Russia, Europe. Clancy keeps going Japan. I'll go to Japan, so we got to take Clancy to Japan. And I'm missing Australia and America, obviously, because all the band are American except for me and Clancy. So. I mean, everyone wants to tour, so we just gotta wait.
Yes, yeah, and that, I mean, yeah, no one could have predicted this. So you're just stuck in a holding pattern like the rest of us, waiting to find out what's going to happen.
I know, yeah, musicians and techs last though.
Yeah, I know. So do you know Stilly then, Kev's brother?
I met him a couple of times, obviously on tour and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know him obviously as well as Kev.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't spoken to Kev for a while. Actually, I should catch up with him. He's back in Bridgend these days, isn't he?
Yeah. He's still down there. I seen him the day my album got released. We all went out for a few beers.
Ah, now I was having a look at this. On what day did the album get released?
I can say 20. What's it now? October, August. So it's been out about 6 weeks, 5-6 weeks.
Right. And fuck, 1 million streams in the first week. That's immense. And have you kept up the momentum as well?
As much as we can, yeah. I think it's on like 2.5 million now. Obviously, the first week gets the big numbers and then drops off. But
yeah.
I mean, I'd happy if it just stayed there, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen obviously your website has got all the physical on it as well, and all the merch and everything else. Is that handled by the label, or are you guys sort of handling that back end?
Yeah, we do all that. I think the label, they get like 2 merch options, but that's on their page. So don't buy that. Go on our page and buy ours.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. There's a lot of that going on, isn't there? Of like, you know, you've got to give us 1 to however many designs, and we you know, we can basically exploit them as we like.
Yeah, so they were doing the bundles, and Steph was like, you should sell a few of them. I was like, yeah, there's the labels. And I was like, don't, you know, I get where they're coming from, but you know, it's our bread and butter at the end of the day, and they kind of pinching in a way, but whatever. Yeah,
it's well, you know, we've all got to get through this somehow. Have you guys talked about? I mean, you know, would there be a likelihood of doing any kind of anything streaming wise? But I presume that's not really possible given that you're in different countries.
Yeah, we did one streaming thing, but obviously I had to pre-record my stuff because we're all in different parts of the world. But as soon as we can all meet together, we're going to do the other songs that we didn't do, if you know what I mean, together.
Yeah. No. I mean, we're you know, we're spread. Well, we're just spread across the UK, but it instantly straight off, it's like, well, you know, you can't do anything that's going to stream. So you've then got to sort of piece something together. So I think you're just going to wait until we can be in a room again together.
This is weird though, right? My brother's band, my brother's in Those Damn Crows. They went to Germany the other day and played in front of 150 people.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, what? How'd you do that? And he was like, I don't know, we just went to go test in London, come back negative, and we went to Germany and played a gig.
Fucking hell. To 150 people.
Yeah.
They were either A, really, really important people, or B, spent a shitload of money.
Yeah, he said they were all in queues, but they weren't 2 meters apart or nothing.
Oh,
like,
right.
You lucky bastard.
Yeah, well, that's mad, isn't it? I mean, I did a couple of comedy shows a few weeks ago, and they were the first shows I've done since January, and that was just really weird because I was, A, I was rusty, and B, you're playing to people who are spaced out and further away, and it's just, I don't know, it's really fucking odd.
Yeah, like those driving festivals, I was like, that was never going to work in my eye. I don't know. It was a good thought and a good push for the live industry, but it would never work, I think.
No, not at all. I mean, can you imagine doing a show and and at the end of a song you've just got people flashing the high beams and hitting the horn?
I know. That's how you get that. And there's another one now. They're all in bubbles. Have you seen that? I've
seen something like that. That looks mad.
No, that could be fun.
Yeah. Well, we've just booked. We've been booked for a it's a socially distanced festival. But it's a private festival. Weird, I know. In April, and they've said, look, barring everybody being in lockdown, it will go ahead. It's all it's all signed off. We've got all of the PPE in place and everything else. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they pull it off. But yeah, it's just mad. It really is.
And then snooker was on the other day on the TV, and there was people watching snooker. I was like, how can they watch snooker if you can't do a gig? It's fucking weird.
Yeah, I know. But there's all sorts of weird things, isn't it? It's like you can't meet up with people from a household, from another household, but you can go to work and work next to people who are from another household.
Yeah, and you can go to the pub.
Yeah, but you just can't be within 2 meters of somebody from another household. And it's like, I'm gonna go and watch the Leeds game, and there's a mate of mine who said, like, well, we can't go, and it's like, well, if you stand over one side of the pub and I'll stand over the other side of the pub and we just shout at each other, it'd be like being on the terraces.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fucking ridiculous. But yeah, it is. But I can't imagine doing anything of those social distance kind of things because there's no energy. No,
maybe if you don't be looking at yourself thinking, well, like this time last year I was rocking full capacity venues, and now it's like, what's going on?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we thought about trying to all get in a room and just like, just do a gig and not even stream it, just film it and put it out. But ultimately, what's the point in that? It's just like there's no crowd, there's no atmosphere. There's no nothing.
Yeah, I just think best thing to do is just wait it out, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I was when all this started, I was enjoying all of the lockdown collaborations and stuff like that. And now, if I see another one, I'm just gonna fucking kick my screen in.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they were all right for 5 minutes, weren't they? I was just like, all right, stop.
Yeah, because it started getting more and more outrageous with like, people playing together who you just couldn't imagine playing together, and then like you watch a few seconds of it and go, oh, fucking hell, guys, don't bother with that.
Yeah.
But we're all, everybody is searching for content as well at the moment. Yeah,
everyone's trying to obviously like, hey, you're still here, on tour, but you can still click out pages and buy merch. So I think that's why a lot of people are doing it. But I don't know. I don't know what to do next, really, except for wait.
And that's the annoying thing, isn't it? Because that's not a thing. Waiting is not a thing.
No, I know. Well, since I left Bullet, that's all I've done. I was telling my wife the other day, all I've done since I left Bullet is fucking wait. I waited to write the album, record the album. The album's been finished for like 2 years. So we had to wait then to get the right year with Fearless. And then we have to wait to put the album out at a certain date. And now I'm waiting again.
Yeah, it's well, I admire your patience, mate. I really do. I mean, this is all really positive. But I mean, there must have been dark times, you know, when you first left the band and just kind of wondering what you were going to do and all the rest of it. That must have been a quite a thing to get through.
Not really.
No?
Well, I was. There was a couple of nights, like I was hitting the bottle, and my wife was like, "Drinking again?" I was like, "What the fuck else am I gonna do?" and she said to me one day, she said, "Get in your fucking drum room and play fucking drums." I was like, "Why?" She goes, "Because you're depressed as fuck." So I did, and then that's how it started. I was like, "Oh, fuck it out," and then I started texting Jordan. So I'll buy her a glass of wine after, I think.
Yeah, I think you might have to. Yeah. But
socially distanced glass of wine.
I know what you mean, though. It's like if you've been playing drums in a band for as long as you have, and then there's no band, it's like, well, why do I play what's the point in playing the drums?
Yeah, I was like, just playing to myself. I need to, I'm not like I hate drum solos. I hate all this flashy drum work stuff. I need a guitar, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Play. So I was like, I'll text Jordan then. And he'd send me these riffs, and I was like, right, straight into fifth gear, we're off.
Brilliant. And that must have been a kind of a big turnaround as well, when you felt that kind of I know what you mean. You feel that kind of, it's almost adrenaline when you hear stuff and you want to play to it and you want to work with it and you think, fucking hell, we're off, we're at the races here.
Yeah, it was no like chords or nothing. It was like guitars that I really liked to play drums to, and it was perfect. The timing couldn't be more perfect. Yeah,
that's brilliant, mate. That really is. And by the sounds of it, it's just what you needed at the time. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, still drinking wine though.
but the thing is, if you, like you say, you can lose that aspect of going in your room and playing your drums. And especially, was there a part of you that was like, well, I don't want to play the drums because that's going to remind me of being in the band, that I'm not in a band anymore?
Yeah, I didn't play any Bullet stuff. It was just like, right, so I just drew a line in the sand. I was like, okay, been there, done that. But now I've had like 5 years away from it. I'm like, oh, do you know what? I'm going to jam this song by Bullet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It helps, different style of drumming and stuff, So now it's easing a bit.
Yeah.
The mood to feel a bit.
Yeah, because it's I mean, people always say, being in a band, it's like, it's like being married. No, it's not. It's like polygamy. It's like being in 5 fucking marriages.
Yeah.
And when that all goes south, it's like splitting up with somebody, isn't it? It's like, there's love turns to hate, and there's a lot of emotion involved in it. And I know from personal experience, you just want to fucking turn your back and walk away. I totally understand you not wanting to play any Bullet songs, because it's painful, isn't it? And then a few years, you've had enough time now to be able to be, go, yeah, do you know what? I can play that. Yeah,
it's because I'm happy now where I am, with my new band. So it's just like, cool, you do yours, I'll do mine.
Yeah, man, that's brilliant. Well, look, mate, that kind of sort of brings us to the perfect point to leave it. Really, I'm really, really pleased for you. The album sounds fucking amazing.
Thank you very much.
And you've had an amazing response to it. All we can do now is get out of fucking lockdown and tour the bastard.
Yeah, as soon as we bump into each other, we'll have a pint.
Yes, we'll have a pint of wine.
Oh yeah, sound.
All right, mate. Well, look, thanks for calling me back. I'm sorry for hanging up on you in the first place.
It's all right, no problem.
All right, mate. Thanks for coming on, and I look forward to seeing you sometime out on the road.
Yeah, man, most definitely. I'll catch you later.
Take care, man.
All right, bye.
Cheers. And that was very cool. Really enjoyed that. Hope you did too. And of course, if you wanted to ask questions of Moose, then you would have to sign up at patreon.com, and that gives you access to all of the goings on behind the scenes at Talking Bollocks Towers. So basically, if you sign up at Patreon, if you're on a Patreon, if you're listening to this on your phone or on a tablet, and look at the podcast description, you will see a support this podcast lettering. If you tap that is a link straight to patreon.com/Howard H. Smith. If you sign up there, you get this podcast early, you get your own podcast of all the questions that have been asked, that you get to know who's coming on the show before everyone else, you get to drop your questions in, they're answered, you get it all in your own podcast, you get all sorts of other bits and pieces as well. There's loads of interesting bits and pieces going on. You also get a monthly radio show as well, 2 hours of music. So there's a lot there for just $5. What? Fucking hell, Howard, you should put the price up. Yeah, I know, it's been that for quite a while now. Why don't you put it up then? Well, maybe soon, but for now, in the middle of lockdown, probably not a good idea. So anyway, if you want to get on down there, there's lots of Acid Rain behind the scenes. There's lots of Talking Bollocks behind the scenes. Do a kind of live podcasty thing once a month, and a radio show, and all the other stuff. So get involved. Anyway, it was really cool talking to Moose there, and there's a really good example. It was really cool. How he was talking about the old Bullet for My Valentine material and not wanting to play it. And steering away from that, and it kind of depressing him at the time. But now time has moved on, and he's happy to play the odd Bullet tune and go, and then and enjoy it. It's so similar to breaking up with somebody. It's so similar to losing somebody. It's that kind of grief that comes with losing a partner, or or splitting up with somebody, or where you're grieving for the relationship, or the loss of that person in your life. And it's similar to grieving when you actually lose somebody in your life, when somebody passes away, and there's instantly or nothing, it just brings tears, it brings disappointment, it brings sadness, it brings melancholy, nothing but that at the time. But then with distance, and as time moves on, you're able to look back and smile about a relationship that you didn't want to get out of, and I never want to hear from that person again. And then you hear from them, and you can think, oh well, I'm glad they're doing well. You know how it is, and basically that is the whole process that goes on, when leaving a band. And so when people do say, it's like being in a marriage, it is. Or a number of marriages, because you're so close and you share things, that is probably the closest equivalence. It's still not kind of right, really, but you get the idea. Hey, you heard the interview, and I'm sure you figured it out. So it's time for another interview. I am going headlong into another interview. Now, this one, I've got to apologise. This one is with Sean Lambe. Now, we did this interview back in February, for goodness sake. February, before lockdown. I've got I have got an excuse. It's just been in the vaults, and I haven't got round to putting it on the show yet, and now it is going to be on the show for you. So, Sean was involved in producing and creating the documentary. Yes, it is a documentary, which is called Saigon Metalhood. Okay, Saigon Metalhood, the unknown story of the Vietnamese metal scene. So I mean, as soon as I saw this movie existed, I just thought, I have got to speak to somebody who's involved in this and find out exactly what was going on. So I think it was Twitter. I managed to track down Sean. He was really cool about this. One of the producers, and gave me a link to watch the movie. It's unbelievable. It's called the Saigon Metalhood documentary. I will put a link to the documentary in the podcast description. So have a look there. Anything that is different colour to the actual text describing the podcast, so for instance, support this podcast, my Patreon link or any other links will appear in different colours, and you just click those links and it'll take you to the relevant place. So I will put a link in there for you. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further... Who am I kidding? Ladies, are there any ladies out there? Women, please let me know if there is any female listeners. I know there is like 2, but please, it'd be good to hear. Do let me know. Anyway, sorry, tangent. This is Sean and I having a chat about his documentary way back in February.
Hello.
Hello there, Sean.
Hello, mate. How you doing?
I'm very well. I feel like we've known each other for years.
Yeah, I know, mate. Yeah, I know. When was it? 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, it was probably about 2 weeks ago. Yeah, we finally got round to it after watching too much football and drinking too much beer.
I mean, it's a noble reason for this not to have happened. But is this your first post-promotion podcast?
Yes, it is. Yeah, this is the first. You are the first interview I've done with somebody who is aware of this. Funnily enough, the next interview I'm doing later on tonight is Billy Sheehan, and I don't think he's about to ask me.
Well, congratulations for the people who give a shit about football. Anyway, man, that's 16 years of hurt, was it?
Oh, mate, every one of them painful. I mean, it really was. It wasn't like 16 years of not being in the Premiership. It was 16 years of horrendous ownership, of going down to, League One for the first time in our history. I mean, yeah, everything was just horrendous. So, yeah, it's good to be back.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, I'm actually quite excited about it. I'm sure that excitement will evaporate once Spurs play Leeds next year. But I'll remember the reason why everyone enjoyed them going down in the first place. But it's good to have like 2 extra games. Like it's good to have 2 extra games a year now. That's going to be a bit more meaningful than your average kind of newly promoted side, for sure.
I know what you mean. There's we've got history with everybody. Well, we are officially in the UK the most hated club. Believe it or not, Millwall comes second. So I don't know how we've managed that.
Yeah, that's fairly impressive. Congratulations on another great achievement.
Yeah, I know that's quite an impressive achievement, isn't it? Being more hated than Millwall. But anyway, look, let's get this onto the movie, because it seems to me very much like a labour of love. I don't, obviously it wasn't something the three of you thought, hey, let's make this and we'll win Oscars and become filmmakers. It's something that clearly is a labour of love. Where did the idea come from? I'm presuming one of you went to Vietnam and came back with the story, or how did it happen?
Well, I've actually been living in, all of us that made it, we've been living in Vietnam for about 6 years, and we went over there to do English teaching first, and me and William, the other guy who was involved in all of the production, we made a film about there's a drinking street there called Bui Vien, and we made a film about that, which took the best part of a year to do. And we just got a real taste for making documentaries. And I was in a metal band when I was a teenager. I used to play in my local town scene. Right. And we were looking for the metal scene in Vietnam for a while, and it's very hard to find. They do not market themselves very well at all. But then William started to date a girl who was involved in the scene, sort of out of nowhere. So then we found the guy Sargo, who is the first guy in our story.
Yeah.
And so we were going to make a short film about him, but then we started attending gigs. We started to see some of the other bands that were there, and we started to be more involved in that scene. And they really let us in. So, yeah, it turned into a 3-year project.
Wow. I mean, that's quite an adventure. I mean, did you always set out to make a sort of a feature, or were you just gonna? Or I guess the story sort of as it unfolds sort of dictates what the movie becomes.
Exactly. Yeah. When we first started out, we were going to just focus on the older guy, Sargo, because he's got some interesting stories. He's lived through pretty much the start of when rock music came to Vietnam with the American soldiers there.
Yeah.
Like all the way through the ban after the war, and now he still plays today. So we were going to focus on him as a kind of like look at it. Is this an interesting character? But then once we sort of seen how all the metal community there was, kind of just struggling against the status quo in a lot there, because like metal is not a popular genre there at all, and it was really cool for us. And then it became this big sprawling feature for a while, but we managed to rein it in and categorize it how we did into the past, present, and the future of it.
Well, it's quite amazing as well, because as you said, the scenes that are there are very small, but they still manage to be fractured and have rivalries, and it's like those kind of silly things that you get everywhere, and it's amazing that you go all the way over there, and even in that small scene, you've still got those divisions.
For sure, man. Like the hardcore scene and the people who are playing that kind of like the metal with no solos and everything, and then the traditional metal scene, which kind of has a lot of different genres in it. But they for the most part can't stand each other. There was quite a few attempts to unify them, but there's like a surprising amount of bad blood between very small communities. It's like they clearly would be a lot stronger standing together, but too much has happened apparently, so that's not going to happen.
That's bizarre. It really is. I mean, I must admit, from a personal point of view, I actually preferred what the younger guys were doing. To me, it seemed like, oh right, okay, cool. That's there's a relevancy to that. There's contemporary influences there. Whereas they like the older guys, it all seemed just basically a little behind the times.
The first, like with Sargo and the second guy Loki as well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of was as well, though. I mean, Loki's heyday was in the kind of late part of, maybe 2010. That was when he really started to come through. But yeah, I mean, with these guys, the metal scene there is very cut off from the rest of the world. They're learning about it through like at one CD or something that might make its way through the whole community, and it means that the scene is kind of quite pure in its own kind of strange way. Like there's like with metal music, when I was growing up in it, there was a certain kind of elitism there. Like if you were,
oh god, yeah,
if you were like. Yeah, like the people who like Metallica as their favorite band, for example, it was seen as like a gateway band. So the ones, it was kind of like, why don't you listen to something proper like Lambe, God, you fucking wanker, it was...
yeah. The metal elitism is amazing, yeah.
Yeah, it is. So, like, people trying to like out hardcore each other on what they were listening to or not, and it's hard not to fall into that if you're involved in metal communities, in my experience. But in Vietnam, they're kind of free of that, They, like when we were over at Loki's house, who's this like brooding, neck-tattooed Vietnamese guy who's like, the vanguard of his time for the metal scene there. We were getting drunk with him and fucking doing Backstreet Boys karaoke. It was like very, there was a real lack of that. So there was a real lack of kind of self-consciousness. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly. And I guess that's what the word we're looking for is naivety, isn't there? There's a naive beauty to all of that. And so is the answer to the question, why hasn't Vietnam's metal scene taken off and all the rest of it? I mean, can it be as simple as to place it at the door of the lack of internet access that the average member of society has? Is that because that's the only thing I can think of as to why they wouldn't be able to consume all the metal they like, and they're handing CDs round?
Yeah, I feel like in this day and age, the internet is not a problem at all in Vietnam. Like in the main cities, it's even outside. But in my opinion, it came from in 1975. Obviously, that was the end of the Vietnam War, and the new government there were quite untrusting of what they considered to be like a Western influence. So they banned stuff like rock music, and long hair was very frowned upon. So when in most of the other scenes in England and in America, that was a real foundational time for heavy music, where like it allowed itself to at least really put its stamp on the subculture there and allow it to become like a multi-generational thing. But in Vietnam, that was completely lacking. They were getting the occasional CD that would come in from Thailand. Like the whole country knows the song Hotel California just because it was one of the bootleg CDs that was in circulation at that time. But yeah, I feel that was the thing that really, it didn't allow it to ever take off. And once like it did sort of open itself up a little bit more, they'd already missed out on a huge, important moment for it to stamp itself in the culture.
Yeah, I mean that is you're absolutely right. That is a considerable amount of time to be kind of in the wilderness, as it were. And I guess the music is still sort of, if not so much tainted by the government, still tainted by society, because I would imagine it's still the sort of long hair not being a good idea is probably still hanging around because we're only a few generations after those kind of laws.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, modern Vietnam is changing very quickly. It's a very young country. There's a lot, with the age demographics. But so the modern Vietnamese, they are quite very modern. It's changing very fast. But it's a very homogenous country too. So most people will share similar interests. A lot of the music that people like will be generally liked by everyone as well. So it makes, it is harder for something as kind of left field as metal, to come in and really stamp itself. Yeah.
Yeah, because K-pop is really sort of found a home there, hasn't it?
Yeah, man. Yeah, K-pop. They like EDM, like dance music. The American and English pop, which they call like US, UK. But I mean, for the majority of people there, like if you say a rock band, they think Maroon 5. That's the kind of situation that you're dealing with.
Right, yeah. So it's almost like, yeah. Oh Christ, yeah. That's rock, is it? So have they, so are Metallica a mainstream band then?
Not in the slightest, man.
Really?
Yeah, not in the least. No, most people would never have even heard of them.
Wow, right. So we finally find a country that that Metallica can't play.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, in our film, actually, there's the band Whitechapel come to Vietnam. Yeah, they come to Vietnam. That's probably the biggest metal concert that has ever happened in Vietnam. Like the young boys in our film, they organised it and made it happen. But that is probably the biggest band that's ever come to play in Vietnam.
Well, I'm going to put
in history.
I'm going to put a warning about a spoiler alert before we carry on this part. So if you are going to watch the documentary, probably skip forward a few seconds. But when they were organising that gig, and like the voiceover is saying, usually 200 people turn up to rock shows, but Legacy have booked a hall that holds 1,000 people. And I'm just thinking, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like straight away, you're just like, oh guys, no, all of a sudden the audience doesn't increase by 80% just because you want it to.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah. I really felt for them.
And the way that they charged, yeah, man, me too, because they did a really successful gig that we have in there when the band Defeated Sanity came.
Yes.
And like it was, yeah, and that really went well, even though there was a lot of fucking mishaps in the lead up to it that were kind of outside of their control. They delivered, and they delivered a really, really good show. So like optimism was fucking sky high after that, Everyone was buzzing, like they were feeling like we can do this shit. So yeah, man, it was it was sad.
Yeah, so it's just that classic, trying to run before you can walk, and I mean, it's still cool though. They still get to say that the biggest metal show that's happened in Vietnam. They promoted it, and and Whitechapel turned up, man. They came over and they played.
Yeah, exactly. They did. Exactly, they did. It was still a good night, but it was a real logistics fucking mistake. The place. If they had like a hall for 250 people, it would have been an insane night for Vietnamese metal standards. That people would have. It would have really been a good thing, but when you have that big empty hall and the sound quality's fucked. Yeah.
Believe you me, mate. I've played venues like that, and it looks to me like an old school ballroom, which means there would have probably been a lot of glass in there as well, and loads of mirrors, and you get the sound bouncing around in there, and it's like it can tear the paint off the walls.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Lots of mirrors. Yeah. Lots of glass. The ceilings were ridiculously high,
Yeah.
Like playing in a gym, man. Right.
Oh man, like playing in a big glass gym. Brilliant.
Yeah.
It's like, it's literally the worst type of venue that you could find for a metal show. It's like, well, I want one with really high ceilings. We're only gonna have 200 people in it, so nice and big. And if all the walls can be mirrors, that'd be great, because we want it to sound hideous. It's like, the poor guys, man, the poor guys.
Yeah, no, it was because they are lovely dudes. Like, they were super welcoming of us. Like when we first started to make this film, there was a few other filmmakers who had approached the people in the scene there and had like offered to make them music videos and stuff like that. But they were apparently quite untrusting of them, where they had sort of been like, no. And like the dude was offering to make it for free, and the boys were like, not interested. It's like, what? They felt like he was going to try and profit off it somehow. So we were warned off, but that was not my experience at all. I found that they were super welcoming to us.
Yeah, they seemed really nice guys, and super enthusiastic. And I was absolutely floored at the end, where one of these lovely guys has passed away.
That's right. Yeah, it happened after we had finished production, pretty much a week before we finished the final cut of the film. So it didn't have anything to do with the metal scene, and we felt like to make it part of the story would be inappropriate. So we just wanted to give him a tribute at the end, and very, very sad. Really, really, like, it's shocking news.
Yeah, I know, because I was merely watching the film. I mean, you knew these dudes, and it just came. At the end of the movie, it's the last thing you're expecting, and I presume the way that appears at the end, and it's the last thing you're expecting, is kind of how it unravelled in real life, by the sounds of it. So what happened? Do you know?
Exactly. Yeah, unfortunately, he took his own life.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
dear.
I know. 24 years old.
I know. I at the end when it says, born 1995, to 2019, I was thinking like 1995, Christ. I put 3 albums out by then. We toured the world,
man.
and quit, and it's like, oh God,
Yeah.
He probably it's so sad.
Yeah, it was a real choker, man, and just I didn't see it coming. Apparently, some of the people in the scene, they were like less surprised. I mean, he was a morbid, like he was a really funny dude, but you know, he had that kind of morbid sense of humor a lot, and would kind of like go along that side. But I mean, obviously, I knew him pretty well from making this, but I didn't know him like his friends did, you know, obviously.
Yeah, and it's just, well,
yeah,
you know, but as you said, it's not part of the story, and you know, the documentary really you know, covers everything it should do, and it's a really nice little fitting tribute at the end there. And
that's what I think his parents have seen it too. So like I you know, it's kind of a happy time in his life. As well, from what he was telling me, and you know, from talking to him, like the whole adventure of taking that metal agency and trying to take on the world was a very happy time in his life. So I hope that we did it justice.
Ah, that's awesome. And it's kind of a weird sort of bookend as well, because of course the documentary starts with, you know, probably the oldest rocker in town who's still doing it. And then you finish with, you know, a young guy who's taking his own life in his prime. It's a real kind of, I don't know, it's a real sort of poignant ending. Absolutely, you know, swept my feet away. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, man.
Exactly. I mean, like, obviously with Sargo, we had the three main characters with Sargo, Loki, and Vu. And,
do you realise that that does sound like the cast of Avengers?
Yeah, I know. When first I heard about this guy Loki, it was like, oh shit, we have to meet this dude. You know, his name is like Chung Loki. It's like, what a cool fucking name. I need it. But he's a funny dude, man. He's had some demons though, that guy.
Yeah, well, I kind of felt that way about all of them.
Yeah, sure.
You know, it must be something about
Sargo, I'd say.
It's a hard way of life out there. I was going to say it's a hard way of life out there, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, it is and it isn't. But I feel like if you're doing something you're passionate about, then if you're just doing it for pure commercial success, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons, and you're most likely doomed to fail. You know, like these guys are doing it purely because like they like it. I mean, they try and make it a commercial success, but they're doing it because that's what they're interested in, and I feel that like it's kind of the way that you should do things, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's called integrity, mate, and you know, the more people that have it, the better.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, that was what I kind of took out from it, because you know they had friends that were not in the metal scene too, and they kind of would be, you know, snickered at for being involved in kind of things like that, but you know, they just fucking did it because that was what they were interested in, and you know, Sargo like lived his life kind of doing rock gigs like on the sly with the kind of, you know, there was 10 years where he could have been thrown in jail, but he would go and play rock gigs because that's what he wanted to fucking do.
Yeah, and like you said, there is a lovely sort of purity, naivety, whatever you want to call it. There is that, you know, that you won't get from established scenes.
Definitely, because I mean, there's always going to be posers in the more established ones, and there's going to be people who are kind of like look at it as a stepping stone. But I mean, for most of the guys in Vietnam, like that was it. You know, that was it. You know, like there was so many bands in the metal scene in Vietnam have formed, done like the first album, which would show promise in a lot of cases, like a strong first album. They'd play a few of the scene spots, of which there are not many, and then they just wrap it up, call it a day, you know, because that was it. There was no path to anything more after that.
Yeah, and that's always going to be the problem. You know, you can't grow a scene from the top down. You know, there's got to be that foundation. It's. I mean, do you see it ever developing beyond what it is now?
I think you see in the places around it, like in Indonesia, in Thailand, Singapore, like the metal scenes there are very healthy.
Yeah.
So I guess they're very strong metal scenes. So I guess like if there's a bit more of a crossover there, I know a few of the bands from Vietnam have gone to do tours in the Southeast Asian scene. So I guess if that just becomes a little bit more accessible, that offers a way into, a much bigger market for people. And if one band blazes the trail, I'm sure other people will look to them and push it forward. And Vietnamese people are very patriotic as well. So if one of their boys is going to somewhere else and making it big, they will support them no matter what. And I think by virtue of someone's success, that could make more people interested in it.
So basically what we're saying is the door is open for a Vietnamese Metallica.
I mean, someone just has to kick it in, man.
That's it. Someone's just got to kick it. That's a really cool place to leave it, actually. That's a great way to leave it. Well, look, Sean. For now, thank you very much. But I've got some subscriber questions for you. So, would you be okay to hang around and answer those?
Yeah, no problem.
Cool, man. Okay, but for now, don't go anywhere. But for now, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Right. Thanks for having me, man. It's the first podcast I've ever done by phone, so it was a new experience, but I think it was pretty good. I liked it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, mate. It's been a pleasure having you on. It really has.
Nice one, man.
What a top chap, and what a project to take on. It really fascinating stuff. So I will, as I said, make sure that those links are available for you in the podcast description. Keep your eyes on those. So that was great fun. Look, I hope you've enjoyed yet another Talking Bollocks. Needless to say, as you know, you have got part 2 of the Sepultura trilogy on its way, coming up on the date of the next Sepulquatra, which will be, let me just check. Let me have a look. So it's going to be right. It will be December the 5th. December the 5th will be the day that the Andreas Kisser part of the Sepulquatra interview comes out. That'll be live in your podcast players. Remember to subscribe wherever you are. Remember to share the podcast, because you the people, you the listeners, the bollockers, the podcast faithful, you are the greatest thing I have in my arsenal to be able to spread the word of this podcast. Now, you might have noticed that I have now moved to Podbean as opposed to All About the Rock. They are still Brill and are still my guys, but I'm now on Podbean. I'm available absolutely everywhere. So give us a share, give us a shout out, whatever you do, please do let me know. And it's been great. Now I'm fully across all the statistics, seeing all of you downloading these all over the world. Unbelievably popular in Finland for some reason. So I know. How weird is that? So bearing that in mind, I mean, I have to do this, don't I?
Hyvää päivää.
Hey! Or...
Terve.
That was basically saying hello in Finnish. So, shout out to the Finnish massive there. Keep up the good work, guys. And all of you around the world, keep listening, keep supporting. If you would, sign up at Patreon. Definitely worth it. Everybody who has comes and stays and raves about it. So dip in and check it out. It's got to be worth it, even just for a month. There's so much there to have a dig around of. Also, there is the new Talking Bollocks website on Podbean. I think that's podbean.talkingbollock.com. Just put in Talking Bollocks Podbean into a search engine and you'll find it. You'll find every single podcast there. There is 130, including this one, to get stuck into. So go and get stuck into them. Thank you very much. As always, it's a pleasure to be in your ears. It really is. Wherever you are, I hope you're well. I hope you're taking care. Be safe, be well, and I will speak to you again very